I'm assuming that you've created a linked server to QuickBase using Qnect ODBC for QuickBase. This link server is called QuickBase, and if you explore it, you have a single application here, the tables associated with it. I'm going to show you how to write SQL statements to interact with QuickBase using both Transact SQL and native ODBC SQL. The quickest way to get started is to right-click on a table and script table as, and we'll use delete to new query window. And we get a nice delete statement here, a template of one. I'm going to delete the where clause. I'm going to replace delete with select, and then I'm going to add the asterisk to get all columns. And this is a very useful thing to do because it shows you right away what all the columns are called. And the columns may be named a little bit differently here than they are in your QuickBase because the default settings for Qnect ODBC for QuickBase will replace all non-alphanumeric characters with an underscore. So record ID is record underscore ID underscore. As you can see, the spaces here have been replaced by underscores. So that's something that you should be aware of, and using the select star allows you to quickly look at the field names so that you can use those the proper field names in your SQL statements. The other thing to notice here is that you have square brackets surrounding the identifiers. This is the name of the link server, this is the name of your QuickBase application, and then this is the name of the table in that application. You can replace these square brackets with a double quote. So double quotes and square brackets are interchangeable. Now let's look at another way to write that same select statement. So this is the format for an open query select statement. And the open query function takes two parameters. It takes the name of your link server, and then it takes a SQL statement that you're going to send to that link server. What's interesting about this is that the syntax for the SQL that you use here is different from the syntax you use in your Transact SQL statement like we did up here. So for instance, you can say select star from, and then in terms of a table name, all you need is this database identifier here. And if we put that in here, we can run this select statement and we'll get the same result that we got from this select statement. Now let's go back to our first SQL statement and add a where clause. If we run this, we should get pretty much the same results we got earlier. And indeed we do. Now, if we want to do that same where clause on the statement below, we're going to put it in here like this. That seems obvious. But what's not quite obvious is that because this is inside of a set of single quotes, it's going to get confused because we've got single quotes in our statement. The way to escape these single quotes is to double them up. So we have to do this. And then we should be able to run the select statement, and we should get the same result that we got earlier. There you go. Now, to avoid having to escape the single quotes, in order to avoid having to double these up, we can rearrange this SQL statement like this. We can terminate it here, and then we can have the where clause outside of the open query function. And then we can remove the doubling up of single quotes here. Of course, we have to get rid of this parentheses because it's now closer in. And if we run that statement, we'll get the same result. Now, there's a disadvantage to doing it this way because what's happening is all the records are being retrieved from QuickBase, and then locally this where clause is being applied by SQL Server. This isn't as efficient. In a case where we're only pulling out a few records of many, we would have a lot more work, a lot more data coming over the network than a lot of work locally to sift through all those records to figure out which ones match this where clause. Interestingly enough, in this Transact SQL statement here, the same thing happens. All the records from QuickBase are pulled over, and then the where clause is applied locally. So open query statements can be much more efficient than these four-part name statements.